Okay, so one thing I loved that this chapter establishes right from the jump is how much more difficult it's becoming for the Navy to properly do their jobs, because with bounties now being placed on naval officers by pirates, the very citizens they sworn to protect are turning on them. But as both Suru and Sengoku point out, it's not out of malice, but out of just much more long-standing problem that has existed in this world, which is people just acting upon the desperation to survive, and it's becoming something they just can't ignore anymore, which, yeah, don't get me wrong, I do feel a tinge of sympathy for the Navy officers, Kyuubi characters I actually like who have to deal with this, with the difficult nature of this situation, but at the same time, this kind of is a reap what you sow moment, as the Navy has spent so much time kowtowing to the government and the Celestial Dragons, and only on the surface level really protecting real and actual suffering people, that something had to give. And it's not like this is coming out of nowhere either. This is something that, honestly, that's been boiling to the surface probably since the Arlong arc. And when we see that battered man talking to Buggy about his payment, I really like how Oda did emphasize that, yeah, there are needless casualties that result from this, but again, that desperation is just forcing these citizens to act despite knowing the likely consequences and loved ones they're likely to lose. It's just, when you're so desperate, you will do desperate things. When you're so desperate, you will act upon that desperation. And to me, this is like the biggest sign we've seen that things have reached a boiling point in the world, like in the world of One Piece. Like, everything that, like, the absolute worst case scenario has happened, and now it's like, it doesn't really look like, and well, I don't think we're fully prepared to deal with this situation, honestly. It's clear that the Marines, even despite how much of an organization of absolute justice they've become, I don't think even they were prepared to deal with this situation. Speaking of Buggy, though, we get a very interesting exchange between him and his fellow Cross Guild members, as he makes a plea of sorts to Crocodile and Mihawk about going after the One Piece. And as weird as it sounds, once again, Buggy is kind of making a lot of sense here. And I mean, obviously, as Crocodile rightfully points out, Buggy's whole little thing here, he is leaving out a lot of logistical details from the idea. But at the same time, is he wrong either? They need money, they need funding to create their utopian dream. And just doing like random side things, random raids and whatnot, that's not going to get them anywhere. And what better way in order to gain the funding they need for their dream than grabbing the greatest treasure imaginable? And no matter how much of an idiot Buggy might be, the one thing I cannot deny about the guy is his charisma. Like, the fact that, like, he just has the right words to say at the right time. And the fact that he actually did kind of say something interesting, which is that you don't have to fight, you just have to be smart. You just have to be smart about how you approach your... you just have to be smart about how you're approached. You don't really have to fight. You just have to beat him to the punch, kind of thing. Like, you just have to like the whole thing for the whole battle for the One Piece at this point has been a giant race for pirates. And as Buggy said, you just got to win the race. And again, he's not wrong. You don't have to fight Shanks. You just have to outpace him. So yeah, it's weird. I can't help but say I'm agreeing with Buggy on that. With that said, though, one of the more interesting aspects to talk about in this portion of the chapter is Buggy brings up just how peculiar Shanks' actions are, in that he never once in his life ever cared about trying to find or obtain the One Piece, and that his taking interest now is actually sudden development. So, yeah, that just begs a further question about what Shanks knows about the One Piece that we don't. Because if Shanks has chosen to act upon whatever information he's learned about it, then that has to mean it's something he believes he has to keep out of Blackbeard's reach. Like, Shanks' entire story at this point revolves around stop opposing Blackbeard, so he must have learned something that made him fervently believe Blackbeard could not get his hands on the One Piece, which frankly is making the idea of Teach being rocks or having a connection to rocks all the more apparent, like the further we go on. Obviously from there, though, we do got to talk about the fact that we see Sabo alive, returning to Revolutionary Headquarters with refugees in tow, and the chapter ending by saying that he's about to reveal all of what happened at the Reverie in Marie Joie, meaning he probably figured out the secret behind Eam, or at least something about Eam's identity. Now, is this information going to be revealed next chapter? Probably not, but it's not like I'm going to write out the possibility either, because with us being in the end game of One Piece, like we are in the end game, it's one of those things where obviously Oda is still going to pick a time and place of when to reveal things, but I don't know how much longer he can keep things off to the side without revealing them. So it's like, even if he doesn't reveal them next chapter, it's still probably going to be revealed to us in the near future. And honestly, reading this chapter and seeing Sabo's return, there was a brief moment where I shifted my focus away from Dragon as being the man with the burn scars that Blackbeard was talking about, and kinda almost thinking it's Sabo, but honestly, I'm still more in the camp of believing that if anyone were to have the final role opponent, it would be Dragon, because it feels like it lines up more with the fact that with everything building around the Revolutionaries. But with that said, there is another possibility I hadn't considered until now, which is that the one who could have the final role poneglyph is one of Roger's crew. One of Roger's crew, who's, I think his name is Scooper Gabon. It was like Scooper Gabon probably has it, which would work. Which for me, I never thought of Scooper Gabon before, but upon looking at how there is a weird narrative through line that's kind of interesting that I'm looking back on with One Piece, in the sense of how Oda has introduced members of Roger's crew to the Straw Hats. The beginning of the Straw Hats journey, they met Crocus at the Red Line. Midway point at Sabaody, the crew met Rayleigh, and now near the end, to obtain the final road poneglyph, it's possible that they might meet Scooper Gabon. Like, again, I still believe more in the idea that it's Dragon, but upon looking at how like Oda has narratively handled like the introductions of the crew meeting like members of Roger's crew, it would actually make sense that it would be Scooper Gabon who probably has the final road poneglyph. But again, I'm still more on the idea of Dragon, and kept it a secret from everyone, because like depending on what Sabo reveals to us, Dragon might reveal that secret as well to the rest of them. But as the road poneglyph is probably the one secret he's keeping from everyone. But again, the Scooper Gabon possibility is one I'm not throwing out either, because again, there is that narrative through line there you could follow. It also, I think the other thing about the Scooper Gabon thing too is it would also make sense in how confident Shanks seems to be in his ability to find the One Piece before anyone else. Like, that's the other thing about it. I don't think, if he was so confident, I don't think it would be Dragon. It would probably be Scooper Gabon, but yeah, I don't know. It's the whole burn scar thing is definitely an interesting thing to theorize about. I just don't know who it is right now. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll, be sure to hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of me, signing off. Later, everyone.